Welcome back to our channel where we provide updates and undisclosed narratives on Catherine, Princess of Wales and her royal family. We provide you with the exciting news. 1 minute ago, Bombshell Palace Memo reveals Prince William's ultimatum. Andrew must go. In a significant action that undermines the core of the House of Windsor, King Charles III has revoked all royal titles and honors from his disgraced brother, Prince Andrew, evicting him from his Windsor residence and thus exiling him from public life permanently. The ruling, which diminishes the individual once recognized as His Royal Highness the Duke of York to just Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, is one of the most severe and transformative actions by a British monarch in contemporary history. A private briefing paper from Buckingham Royal acquired by this magazine discloses the compelling reasoning behind the historic decision and substantiates what has been speculated in royal corridors for weeks. The king was compelled by his heir, the Prince of Wales. The text clearly identifies Prince William as a principal advocate of the initiative, solidifying his role as the steadfast new authority behind the throne and the definitive protector of the monarchy's continuity. The startling news was made around 7 p.m. On a fraught London evening, this event represents the climax of years of controversy and public outrage about Andrew's connection to the convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein and the unaddressed claims of sexual assault by Virginia Giuffre, which he has consistently and angrily denied. The strain on the ailing king had grown intolerable with escalating public outrage, a parliamentary insurrection developing, and an increasing agreement that the Andrew issue constituted an existential danger to the crown. The king has used his royal authority to address a serious issue that has persisted and risked becoming detrimental. This is not just a public relations maneuver. It is a harsh but essential amputation. The king, with the steadfast support of his oldest son, has explicitly said that no person, not even his own brother, has more significance than the institution they are destined to serve. The Royal Edict. An irrevocable decline from prestige. The official communiqué from Buckingham Palace was succinct, incisive, and profoundly definitive in its impact. Unveiled to a bewildered press, it left no scope for misinterpretation. His Majesty has today commenced a formal procedure to revoke the style, titles, and honors of Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew shall hereafter be referred to as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. His lease on Royal Lodge has so far afforded him legal protection to remain in residence. A formal notice to relinquish the lease has been issued, and he will transition to alternate private housing. These sanctions are considered essential, notwithstanding his ongoing denial of the charges. Their Majesties desire to clarify that their thoughts and deepest condolences have been and will continue to be with the victims and survivors of all types of abuse. The last statement, an unequivocal expression of grief for the victims, was seen by royal scholars as a significant disavowal of Andrew. It is exceptionally potent, said seasoned royal chronicler Angela Levin. It does not provide him with any minor justification for anything. He has mastered this now. Knock, knock, knock. The last paragraph, conveying empathy for those who have endured hardship, was superb. It associates the monarchy with the victims rather than the guilty. The repercussions are absolute. The individual once second in succession to the throne, a renowned helicopter pilot from the Falklands War and allegedly the late Queen's favored son, has forfeited everything that characterized his life. He is no longer a prince, a duke, or His Royal Highness. He has vacated his 30-room Grace and Favor residence Royal Lodge and will be transferred to more humble, privately funded housing on the Sandringham estate in Norfolk, a decision that deliberately isolates him from the royal center of Windsor. The confidential briefing. Within the palace's crisis management strategy, the public statement was explicit. Nonetheless, the true understanding of the palace's perspective is derived from the private briefing material disseminated to the mainstream media. These papers are customary for overseeing significant royal proclamations, offering context and anticipating challenging inquiries. Nonetheless, the contents of this specific memo are incendiary, revealing the underlying rationale for this unparalleled action and the intricate legal and human factors involved. The paper formatted as a Q&A discloses the palace's responses to anticipated inquiries from the public. Regarding justification, significant errors in judgment. The first inquiry the palace contemplates is, what is the necessity of these actions? The response is the most robust government denunciation of Andrew's behavior to date. Although Prince Andrew persists in refuting the allegations against him, it is evident that there have been significant lapses in judgment. This well-crafted statement indicates a pivotal transition. The palace is no longer only recognizing the debate, it is rendering its own condemnatory judgment on Andrew's character and decisions irrespective of the legal standing of the claims. Regarding timing, the inefficacy of a gentler strategy. The briefing seeks to mitigate the unavoidable criticism that the king acted tardily. In answer to the question, why take action immediately? Why not earlier? The palace asserts that a long-term solution was always envisaged but required time owing to the intricacies of the legal and constitutional framework. It asserts His Majesty responded promptly to recent events. A comprehensive resolution to all related issues was anticipated to require additional time for implementation. However, the need for further action was unequivocal. Nevertheless, some observers remain profoundly skeptical about this narrative. I simply do not accept that, said royal analyst Tash. If it were true, the proclamation issued 2 weeks ago, in which Andrew willingly consented to refrain from using his HRH, would be illogical. This is public relations maneuvering for Charles to seem as if he always meant to go farther. He did not. He anticipated that the first gentler step would suffice. According to insiders, the reality is that the original action constituted a disastrous misjudgment. It did not alleviate popular outrage and was seen as an ineffective compromise. The ensuing uproar, characterized by the derision directed at the king and the prospect of a parliamentary discussion, necessitated a significant escalation. The mechanism. A sovereign authority to circumvent Parliament. The paper demonstrates how the king successfully revoked the titles without resorting to a contentious and perhaps detrimental act of Parliament. This has been a significant subject of dispute with several individuals, including the king's own defenders, asserting that his options were constrained. The briefing elucidates the procedure His Majesty is dispatching royal warrants to the Lord Chancellor to facilitate the removal of the Duke of York from the peerage roll and the title of Prince and Style of Royal Highness. This is a brilliant example of constitutional strategy. The king has used the Lord Chancellor and the Minister of Justice to modify the official role of peers, so he is using his royal power to get the intended result while circumventing a legislative procedure that would have subjected the whole royal family to rigorous examination and discourse. The text indicates that this action was used to prevent Parliament from concentrating on pressing national matters, a euphemistic expression implying it suppresses a plethora of Republican feeling. The Iron Fist of the Prince of Wales. William's triumph. The most illuminating statement in the paper arises in answer to the inquiry, who made this decision? The palace's formal response, these decisions are the king's. His Majesty has the backing of the extended family, including the Prince of Wales. The explicit mention of Prince William is intentional. It constitutes an intentional and potent indication. In the ambiguous realm of royal communications, this is the closest approximation to a formal acknowledgement of his pivotal role. For weeks, publications have chronicled William's anger and exasperation with the management of the Andrew situation. He recognized with acute clarity the substantial harm it was causing to the institution he would eventually oversee. A palace source said, "This bears William's fingerprints." He was certain that a halfway house was not a viable choice. He adheres to the philosophy of service or nothing. Andrew was causing significant damage, and for William the decision was clear: the enduring welfare of the monarchy must take precedence over familial affection. This indicates a substantial transfer of power inside the monarchy. Although King Charles, recognized for his sensitive and sometimes indecisive disposition, may have faltered Prince William, exemplifying the pragmatic and often unyielding essence of his late grandfather, Prince Philip pushed the agenda forward. Commentator Tash said Prince William is already assuming control behind the scenes. He possesses many qualities of Prince Philip, and I contend he embodies a more formidable iron fist. This resolute move signifies the monarchy's power, and it is William's fortitude that we are seeing. The paper highlights this triumph. Andrew has departed from Royal Lodge, a decision that William allegedly requested months before. He has forfeited all titles as desired by William. He will no longer be seen with the family at public gatherings as William stipulated. This is unequivocally William's preferred result. Collateral damage and excluded heirs. Fergie. Excluded princesses included. The briefing paper is as harsh in its rejection of Andrew's former spouse, Sarah Ferguson. For years, she has had the exclusive pleasure of living with her ex-husband at the expansive Royal Lodge, a circumstance that has consistently irritated the public and senior royals. In response to the inquiry, what is the status of Sarah Ferguson? In what location will she reside? The palace's reply is a terse, two-word pronouncement that signifies the end of her royal-associated existence. Sarah Ferguson will make her own arrangements. She is absent. There will be no subsidized residence or taxpayer-funded accommodation. The lady responsible for decades of shame to the royal family is finally and officially severed from them. Tash said unequivocally, she is financially capable of purchasing a modest private residence. Her daughters own millions in wealth. It no longer belongs to the royal family, nor should it ever be the responsibility of the taxpayers. The text unequivocally states that Andrew's children, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, would not face repercussions for their father's transgressions. As daughters of a sovereign son, HRH Princess Beatrice and HRH Princess Eugenie maintain their titles according to King George V's letters patent of 1917. This is seen as both legally valid and personally empathetic. That is entirely correct, said Angela Levin. The children should not be held accountable for their parents' actions. William holds them in high regard. They assist at royal ceremonies. Punishing them would be profoundly unjust. This action also astutely functions as leverage, guaranteeing that the princesses possess a vested stake in assisting with the management of their discredited father and unpredictable mother. The human cost, an obligation of care for a deposed prince. Although the decision is severe, the briefing paper shows a profound concern among the family over Andrew's mental condition. The last portion responds to the palace's appeal for the media to be cognizant that there persists a duty of care for the well-being and welfare of all family members. The palace clarified, stating, "This has evidently been a time of significant media scrutiny and considerable pressure on individuals. Private variables, including welfare, have been a vital aspect of all familial considerations. The implication is evident. Buckingham Palace considers Andrew to be at risk of suicide. Having lost his title's residence position and whole identity, the guy who had enjoyed a life of immense affluence is now confronting a total psychological disintegration. Previous reports have shown that Andrew has had mental treatment to manage the significant strain. This individual has now forfeited all, said a person familiar with the proceedings. For King Charles, he remains his brother. The palace is reminding everybody that despite his punishment, he is a human being in a profoundly bleak situation. They are apprehensive about his potential actions. Angela Levin concurs. He has lost everything entirely. His aspirations for prominence and self-aggrandizement have all vanished. You must monitor their condition. If you observe them expressing a desire to inflict harm upon themselves, inaction is not an option. This obligation of care, she observes, complicates interactions with Prince Harry, who is perceived as mentally unstable. The Sussex inquiry, will Harry and Meghan be next? The repercussions of Andrew's public defenestration are acutely felt, 5,000 miles away in Montecito, California. The procedure used to revoke Andrew's titles, a royal warrant to the Lord Chancellor, has unintentionally established a distinct and alarming precedent for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. This constitutes a calamity for Harry and Meghan, as they are undoubtedly the next target, said royal analyst Brittany P. Diner. A prominent YouTube analyst said, "This marks the commencement of a process that will extend to others beyond the UK. They must first implement this in the UK to ensure more acceptance when it comes time for California." Royal commentators are increasingly asserting that if Andrew can be removed for tarnishing the monarchy due to lapses of judgment, then the Sussexes, accused of a more intentional and malevolent campaign against the institution, are in an even more precarious position. Andrew's embarrassing conduct reflected poorly on both himself and the institution, said foreign policy specialist and royal analyst Lee Cohen. However, he did not harbor malice towards the institution, as Harry and Meghan evidently aimed to do. Harry's novel Spare, along with the Netflix series, disparaged the royal family. They harbor a vengeance. Consequently, I believe they must be pursued in this manner. The king now has a definitive non-parliamentary avenue to revoke the titles of Duke and Duchess of Sussex. The inquiry has shifted from the feasibility of the action to the timing and the determination of King Charles to execute it. Many assert that if he does not, King William undoubtedly will. The revocation of their titles would be detrimental to the Sussex brand, which relies mostly on their royal status. Brittany said, "I certainly believe Meghan is somewhat apprehensive, as her entire brand hinges on her identity as the Duchess of Sussex and little else." The public and political response. A triumph for victims, yet not for Republicans. The response to the announcement has been prompt and diverse. The family of Virginia Giuffre issued a compelling statement proclaiming triumph. Today, a typical American girl from a conventional American family dismantled a British prince with her veracity and remarkable bravery, her brother and sister-in-law said. Virginia has persistently advocated for accountability. Today, she proclaims victory. Although several individuals empathize with the feeling, others advise caution regarding the tale. "I fundamentally object to the phrasing of that statement," said Lee Cohen. "This is neither a conflict between America and Britain, nor a struggle of an impoverished child against the British royal family." The King and Prince William are precisely attempting to dissociate themselves from that narrative. Concurrently, the anti-monarchy organization Republic, as anticipated, remains unenthused. Graham Smith, their leader, deemed the action inconsequential. He is charged with sexual offenses and corruption. The absurdity of his title is inconsequential. Charles's statements on the victims are just platitudes until he consents to a comprehensive, transparent, and authentic criminal probe. This underscores the untenable status of the monarchy. For Republicans, no measures will suffice since their ultimate objective is abolition. Brittany said, "They will not be content with anything you do. Consequently, there is almost little merit in attempting to placate any of these individuals." Conclusion. The survival of a monarchy. King. Charles's choice to essentially exclude his brother from the royal sphere marks a harsh but pivotal event in his reign. This was an act of institutional self-preservation unprecedented since Edward VIII's abdication. Confronted with a problem that may tarnish the crown for a generation, the king, influenced by the rational perspective of his successor, prioritized the monarchy above his brother. This was not the action of a robust, proactive monarch, but rather of a ruler besieged by public sentiment, parliamentary coercion, and the resolute determination of the future, King William V. It illustrates that the contemporary monarchy, despite its venerable heritage, is ultimately answerable to the populace it serves and will, when compelled, forsake its own for self-preservation. The immediate danger posed by the Andrew issue may have been mitigated, although the repercussions will last for years. A precedent has been established. A certain course for the revocation of the Sussexes' titles is now apparent. Prince William has been officially recognized as the rightful custodian of the royal legacy, a figure who comprehends that in the 21st century, the crown must be merited rather than just inherited, and that anyone who compromises its integrity will be exiled irrespective of their name or lineage. The king has preserved his rule, although it is William who has salvaged the monarchy. Andrew established the precedent of pawn removed to clear the way. Buckingham Palace said that Prince Andrew, the discredited Duke of York, would forfeit his title and be addressed as Mr. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. This announcement provoked a wave of intense curiosity. This move, including the surrender of his lease on Royal Lodge, is considered the most profound diminishment of a senior royal in the annals of modern monarchy. Despite the formal statement being released in King Charles's name, several royal observers and insiders swiftly assigned culpability to the Prince of Wales. "This is now William's reign," said analyst Maureen Callahan in an article published in the Daily Mail. Callahan's viewpoint depicts the Andrew situation not as a definitive end to a prolonged war, but as a calculated strategic play. She said that the prompt and thorough nature of Andrew's public dismissal leaves no doubt in my mind that Harry and Meghan are likely the subsequent targets. Consequently, she added, Andrew seems to be a pawn removed by William to advance his actual aim, Harry. Royal broadcaster Dan Wootton, citing several royal sources, articulated this perspective on William's considerable prominence. Wootton claimed ownership of this information. In the last 2 weeks, Prince William has taken control of the British monarchy from a weakened and infirm King Charles, Wootton said emphatically on his program Dan Wootton Outspoken. Prince William has taken command of the British monarchy. A senior aide allegedly verified to a source that Wootton characterized the process as swift, ruthless, and intentional. William demanded the elimination of legal disputes, appeals, or ambiguities. It was carried out at his command. While Charles may wear the crown, courtiers are persuaded that William is the primary decision-maker. Analysts have emphasized that the establishment of a new precedent is the most critical element of this development. It was previously widely believed that the revocation of a peerage such as a dukedom or a hereditary princely title would require the enactment of a complex and politically sensitive act of Parliament, similar to the Titles Deprivation Act of 1917, which was implemented after World War I. However, the actions taken against Andrew appear to have circumvented this process, demonstrating that the monarch, or the power behind the throne, possesses the authority to unilaterally revoke such honors. Wootton asserted that a significant precedent has been established. The revocation of a duke title and even a princely title is currently within the purview of a monarch. I assure you that Harry and Meghan should be exceedingly concerned at this juncture as their marital status is not in dispute. The royal commentator, according to Taz, substantiated this assertion by drawing a historical analogy. She observed that Prince William has increasingly emulated his grandfather in recent years, declaring, "He is the iron fist behind the throne." She elaborated that for decades it was perceived that Prince Philip was the one making difficult decisions, often operating in the background of the Queen, and now Prince William has evidently assumed that role. Her rationale is twofold. Firstly, a desire to protect the ailing king from stressful decisions, and secondly, William's enduring ambition for a slimmed-down monarchy, which he is reportedly executing with newfound ruthlessness. One of the brands created from royal sand is named Montecito Panic Mode. Reports indicate that news of Andrew's departure impacted Montecito with considerable force. The gossip columnist, known as Shooter Scoot, stated that Prince Harry was blindsided by the announcement, suggesting he discovered it simultaneously with the public. A well-placed source reportedly remarked, "His stomach dropped." Previously, he believed that titles were unattainable. However, he is now starting to reassess this perspective. Since the inception of their relationship, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have exhibited a consistently conflicted and occasionally contemptuous stance towards the institution from which they have departed. Their entire post-royal enterprise is inextricably tied to the specific titles they now risk forfeiting. Their distinctive status as royal family members has significantly influenced their marketability, evidenced by the release of their documentary series Harry and Meghan and Prince Harry's book Spare on Netflix. Following King Charles's ascension, it was declared that his grandchildren Archie and Lilibet would receive the titles of Prince and Princess, thereby reinforcing their connection to the line of succession and substantially enhancing the significance of the Sussex brand. The current situation suggests that the foundation is disintegrating. Shooter Scoot reports that insiders indicate that Meghan is equally unsettled. She is apprehensive that the Prince brand linked to their children and Hollywood connections may be compromised. This terror transcends mere emotion. In the unforgiving realm of Hollywood and the establishment of a global brand, a royal title serves as the most valuable asset. A prominent brand strategist in Los Angeles remarked in a newspaper interview, "A title lacks sentimentality. The primary objective of every negotiation is to leverage this asset. It unlocks opportunities that would typically remain inaccessible, exuding an aura of legitimacy, historical significance, and international esteem unattainable through financial means." The strategist cautioned that the loss of that leverage may be catastrophic for their future commercial pursuits, particularly in light of the termination of their lucrative Spotify agreement and the mixed reception of their other projects. The long-standing comparison between Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, has transitioned from a whispered cautionary tale within royal circles to a thoroughly examined subject. Numerous individuals have highlighted the Fergusons' prolonged financial instability, leading to several humiliating and questionable arrangements with those outside their social sphere. Concerns have emerged regarding Prince William's particular anxiety about the potential for Harry and Meghan to follow a similar trajectory. According to Wooten, William is substantially more impacted by the issue surrounding Andrew and Fergie because he is aware of the long-term ramifications of the situation. This is especially true when he considers the possibility that Harry and Meghan would pursue a path that is like the one that Andrew and Fergie have taken. In his remarks, he highlighted that William is fully aware of the ramifications that this circumstance entails. The uncertainty that surrounds the future of the Sussexes was brought to his attention despite the fact that he acknowledged that the Sussexes are not now in a financially desperate situation. At this point, it is impossible to forecast where Archie and Lily will be in the long run. In his argument, Wooten contends that the supposed preventative actions taken by William are motivated by the persistent danger that they represent to the reputation of the monarchy. Despite the fact that they have titles, their relationship to the functional monarchy is comparable to that of a simple work title, which has to be completely severed at this point in time. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts and goodbye for now.